On this episode of Your Big Brothers, Thirsty Thursdays, we are talking about undesirable versus desirable sex with one and only sex therapist Thea and actress Coco Fenton. So make sure you stay tuned to Your Big Brothers tonight at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 4:30 Pacific. Let's go. Yo, yo, yo.
It's perfect, dude. That's such a great intro.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Your Big Brothers Thirsty Thursday episode. We are going to be talking about an interesting topic. Desire versus undesirable or transactional or obligational sex.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? Do you guys even know there's a difference? So we're going to be talking about this topic, and we can't really talk about this topic without talking to the ladies. And it is Thirsty Thursday, so we had to bring the ladies. So let me introduce our ladies of the night. Well, they're not the ladies of the night. They don't do that kind of lady thing, but like they're the ladies for tonight on the show. They're not the ladies of the night. So don't think about asking them for the rates, all right? We got actress Coco Fenton.
Hi.
And we got Thea, who is a sex therapist, and she has a website. She's internationally known sex therapist. She helps people with their sexual issues and helping people take their sex life to the next level. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tonight's show, desired sex versus undesired sex. Let's get into let's try to define what this means. Ladies, what would you consider is desired sex?
Coco, do you want to go first or do you want?
No, I would love for you to go first.
Okay. What I think desirable sex is, it's for me, it's instinctive, it's primal, it's there's just an openness, like I'm in a very receptive state, very present and in my body. So when I desire, it's like there's this ignited energy within me that it's like I'm hungry, I'm wanting, I'm connected, and giving permission and access to my true yes that lives within me. And that can look sweet, it can look raw, it can bring out different parts of me. And it's allowing that desire to live within me organically. So to me, desire is opening that portal within myself and directing it into my partner.
Almost like you can't say no. Like you just primally you need to do it.
Yeah, and I'm also allowing it because I think as women, there's this part of us that there's this construct or this conditioning that desire is like allowing desire. There's a bit of taboo, bad girl versus good girl. If I have a desire, I'm shamed around it. Like we don't give permission to our desires. So then to say, okay, what does it even mean? That just starts a completely new rewiring within us when we just allow, like, okay, well, what do I desire? And is it okay to desire my man? Or am I considered slutty or needy or whatever language or constructs you've had from your conditioning or upbringing that you're bringing in? So when I just say we open desire and being like, what does it mean? It's like giving ourselves permission to feel all of the stuff I mentioned coming into what it is.
Absolutely. What about you, Coco? You have anything different? Or you kind of feel the same way?
It's along the same lines. Like for me, desirable sex is very similar to what Thea said, that it's almost like you have this uncontrolled urge and just genuine desire to like open yourself unlimitlessly to your person, like whoever that is, your husband, boyfriend, fiance, whatever the case is, that it's almost like you can't get enough of them, that the chemistry and the energy and what you feel in that moment when you're in that moment is so intoxicating. It's like you cannot get enough. Like there's just this high that you're constantly like always trying to chase that same one. You're like, nope, I want more of this. Nope, I want more of this. So for me, that to me is what genuine desire is, or, you know, desirable sex is when you are feeling things that you've never felt before. It's like you're on a whole nother level and it's intoxicating. And you are allowing yourself to be everything and give everything for that person. Like you could be conservative with one person, but this person you drop everything for because you want to just be experimentative. You want to be exciting. You know, you don't want them to be like to get bored because you're not bored of it and you don't want them to. And you're just always trying to do something to almost kind of like to surprise them in a way and to just keep that fire burning.
And I believe that on your first date with Glenn, didn't you do something a little unique that you opened yourself a little bit more to?
Do you mean like breaking my rule?
Yeah, breaking rules. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did with Glenn just because you know, I'm very conservative and I'm one of those women where I do not sleep with someone unless I'm actually in a very committed relationship with them. That's just how I am.
Go ahead, Ben.
But you know, for Glenn, that chemistry was there, and like the times that we actually spent together and talked, it wasn't just really a physical thing. It was that we had so many common interests and there were so many things about what we wanted in life, in a relationship, how he made me feel, how I made him feel, that literally amplified that to when he made the first move. Like, of course, at first I was like, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? But then I said, F it. And then I went with it and broke my rule.
There you go. And so then let's ask, when we talk about, you know, undesired, we're essentially talking about transactional.
Well, hold on, before we get there.
Actually, I wanted to add something in there too.
Before we get there, let me ask a question. Would you say that, like, you know, what characteristics does this guy have? Here's a question. Here's a follow-up question. What characteristics does this guy have that, you know, ignites that genuine desire to just like jump his bones? Okay. Because there's a lot of information out there and I want to hear what you guys have to say, because what Rollo Tomasi has written in his book, or actually on his blog, it says like the easy assessment here is that women have genuine desire to mate with a conventionally masculine men who look and act the part. Yes, behavior congruency is vital. So they have that, like, that alpha, not let's say alpha, but that masculine man, you know, he carries himself very masculine. He carries himself, you know, like a man's man. You know, he's not, you know, soft or feminine, or that's like those type of guys, you know, bring it out in you? Like what in the guy brings out that genuine desire?
Thea, you want to go first?
Sure. First, I want to comment about desire. Like when you were talking, what was coming up for me is that we don't even really allow ourselves to be in desire or let it build up a lot of time. It goes from 0 to 100. And that energy, that is such a potent energy. And when we allow ourselves to carry it a little longer and really direct it and cultivate it within ourselves, we actually become more magnetic, or we get to feel more in that turn on. It's almost like we feel like we're afraid that as soon as I feel desire, I got to do something with it, rather than can I be in it? Can I allow that to be a dance between us a little bit and build up more and more before taking action, right? So that might be another conversation. But when it comes to the masculine, like for me, yeah, like a man, it's so interesting because my partner I'm with now, he's this beautiful marry of feminine and masculine. And I find a true man can really hold both of those energies really well. And that's so attractive. It's like, he's strong, he's takes charge, he can lead me in the bedroom, easily, but then outside of the bedroom or in different situations, there's this softness, there's this invitation, there's this holding me in all my feminine, however I show up. And I find that sexy as fuck. And that builds up my desire, because I'm like, women are so multifaceted. And when a man can dance in all those different aspects of us and just adapt and not judge and hold and play in it, it's like, to me, that's such a turn on. So his ability to go into that range himself is very attractive to me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Coco, what do you think? Is it true? Like, the masculine presence kind of brings out that desire in women and you per se?
It definitely can. I think it's very subjective to what it is that a woman wants, though. Not every woman feels that a super masculine guy is very sexy. Some women, I think the majority of women like a combination, kind of like what Thea was saying, is that they have this masculine dominant side to them, to where you feel protected, you feel safe, where there's just like this strong masculinity and there's just something about it. Like, they're very a man's man. But then there are those times where they know exactly how to be delicate with you, be emotional, like whether it's they're very rough exterior on the outside, but on the inside, they're big teddy bears, and not necessarily in the bedroom. They know how to do both. They know how to be extremely dominant, and then they also know how to be extremely loving and very giving. And I think that having that combination and having a man look in a masculine manner or even has a presence, because not all men can really have the features of masculinity, like where they look rough, but they can carry themselves that way. And as long as they carry themselves that way and they portray that to, their significant other, their girlfriend or fiance or wife, that it just also enhances that desire for them, if that makes sense.
It's a good point.
Yeah,
I know we've talked about it before, is when you carry yourself with a presence, it's what we had said in a previous episode, and I'll say it again, it's kind of like the lion. The lion lays around all day, preserving its energy, not doing much, and then when it needs to attack, it attacks. Mm-hmm. Knowing that your man can attack if necessary, it's extremely attractive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so but typically when you, like, let's say you're at a concert, right? Or you're at an event, right? There has to be like certain like things the guy has, right? That just, when you see him, you're like, oh my God, I would totally jump his bones, right? Like, that's what we're talking about. Like that like not necessarily in a relationship, but like the desire, like, oh my God, he's hot, I would sleep with him. Like that you can't really tell other than how he carries himself, his presence, his masculine presence. If he's moving in the room in a very confident way, are those things sexy? Does those things kind of tick the boxes for you ladies?
Absolutely. For me, the energy is everything. Like, you can have a guy that's hot as fuck, built and whatever, and has all that masculine, but the energy just is off, not in alignment to that look or to how he acts. And to me, that would it turns me right off right away. Sorry, can you guys hear that in the background? My daughter's in the background.
No, you're good.
I need to move. Okay.
No, it's good. Coco, how about you? Is that true? If a very masculine guy walks in the room, is he really noticeable? Is like, is that the type of guy like, oh wow, I can sleep with him if he's attractive, masculine, carries himself well?
Oh yes, I think that's just it's kind of like when men appreciate a very beautiful woman that obviously takes care of herself. She walks in the room and you're like, oh yeah, I did that. Like, doesn't necessarily mean you take them home to your parents, but you're like, yeah, I hit that. And I think women do the same thing. So if your example, if I was at a concert and for me, it's the bad boy look, big and tall and rugged, but like when he walks, there's like, it's weird. It's almost like men have this kind of like masculine sway when they walk. and they're just like, they just walk around the room and they're like, mm-hmm. And so their presence that they're giving off matches how they look. And when they talk to you, it's like, when they talk to you, it's kind of like when they have that deeper voice, or like you could just tell that like assertiveness in their voice when they're talking to you, and they're like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, oh, how you doing? Like, there's just something, like, you could feel it as they speak, you know, unless if the guy was like, hi, how's it going? Like, I thought I saw you over here and I just thought I'd come say hi. And I'd be like, yeah, no.
Yeah, you could totally feel the insecurity or confidence in a man when they're in their energy, how they're talking to you.
Body
Even their
language.
body
their body
language, for
yeah.
sure. Like, those are
It's kind of
huge.
like, it's like when you walk around a bar or walk around any type of place, whether it be a concert, whatever. It's like walking around like you own the place.
Yes.
Yeah,
And when
the
you
way they
walk around in
lean
that
in.
way, people feel it.
Yeah, and the way that guys lean in, they're like lean up on the bar, they sit next to you like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, hi.
Yeah.
It's just, it's what they give off. You can tell that they're confident, and it's not a false confidence either, because people can read that like a book.
Yeah.
When they're like, okay, I'm gonna try and go over there and be a bad boy. You're like,
Yeah, when they're trying to fake it. When they're trying to fake
yes,
it.
they're
Mhm.
trying to fake it till they make it, and bless her heart, you know, but like at the same time, they always slip up in some way, and it normally is like the way that they're articulating. And they slip up with the things that they're saying, and you're just kind of like, wait, what? Like,
No,
and it just gets confusing.
Even as you're saying that, what's coming up for me is when and a man is just really authentic and just true to who he is. To me, that is so like desirable, because it's like, it's so rare, you know, to come into especially as you mean, like, you know, authentic people. And so I value that so much. So when, like, I look at, like, when I'm meeting people or in situations where when I was dating and being like, it wasn't necessarily just their masculinity, but their authenticity to embody confidently their quirks and all. And then I'm like, to me, that's desirable.
Okay, so now we know what desirable sex is, right? What is undesirable or transactional sex to you ladies?
Okay, go first, Coco.
Well, undesirable sex, from my personal experience, is when you're with someone, you know, you have love for them, but they're not really doing it for you anymore. And having intimacy with them almost kind of seems like a chore and a duty. And that gets rid of the desirability of wanting to. And it's more of like, well, you know, I am with them, you know, I'm supposed to be the person that gives them access to this, but they don't do it for you. And it just seems really boring. Or you try to be exciting or try something different, and they just want plain Jane kind of stuff. And it's just that chemistry isn't there anymore. And transactional is more like, okay, well, they did this for me, so I really should give them this. Or if you're asking like, well, hey, you know, if they're like, hey, I'm kind of in the mood, what about you? And then you're like, actually, I have so much to do, but you know, if you do the dishes and I vacuum really quick, we can go upstairs and bump some uglies. Like,
Oh, you're talking about chore play. See, that's chore play.
yeah.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that till in a minute. Let's just pause there.
Now you don't think that that's the same as like
No, it is. It is
transactional?
No, it absolutely is. But we don't want to go that far ahead yet. We want to get there in a little bit. We'll get back to that topic.
I thought you said undesirable and transactional. That's why.
Yes, we're gonna get into the description of, you know, foreplay and stuff later in a little bit. Thea, would you explain or transactional or undesirable sex in your words?
So for me, undesirable sex is when I'm not in my true yes, like my head, my heart, my pussy. I'm not fully aligned to the experience. So I'm doing it from a place of disconnect. And to me, I feel my partner feels that at the end of the day, I'm not fully in it. Yeah, like, it's not like the energy is just off, but you know, it's undesirable. Like, I'm doing it kind of going through the motions, thinking, okay, I want to please my partner, I want to make them happy, or it's been, a week and I know they have a high sex drive. And transactional, like, yeah, it's kind of, I'm going through the motions, but I'm not in it and I'm not present and I'm also not communicating that. And these are all important things. Like my partner now is like, don't ever have sex with me as a transaction, or to give, something that you don't want, because it's like, I want to vomit, it turns me off, and I don't want charity sex, right? So I, really tune into, how present am I to this? And I might not want it, but is it from a place of, where is that coming from? And can I shift my energy to be open to possibility in this moment, to leading to that? So sometimes it might be, well, I'm not in the mood for sex right now. I'm happy to give you a penis massage and have connection and intimacy, but I don't necessarily want penetration. So how can I honor my no while still connecting and being intimate? So that disconnect is actually now turning into a connect.
I
Does that make
really
sense?
like that. I've never thought about it that way. Because
So
it's like you're
is that a
respecting.
convincing thing though? Like, are you trying to convince yourself?
No, not at all. Like, are you talking about the penis massage piece where
No,
am I
yeah,
in the
because
mood?
like that's more negotiation, isn't it? Like you're negotiating, like, hey, look, I'm not really in the mood for this, but
No, because I'm
You're
tuning
meeting in
into
the
me.
middle,
Yes,
right?
and I'm honoring me. Like, I'm tuning in, what's my truth in this moment?
well,
Because
yeah,
that's the best gift I can give you as my, like, as my partner.
at
What's
that
my
time, right?
what's my truth? And I'm like, okay, I'm not into feeling penetrated right now, but I want to connect. I want intimacy, and right now, a penis massage feels really good to me, and also still gives my partner a sense of pleasure for their desire level, right? Like, because we're not at the same desire level, but where can we meet? Where can I can stay in my truth and still hold space for the connection, intimacy, and pleasure? Through that, my pleasure gets to an invitation to deepen, to open, and I get to explore, because I could be so, like, given our traumas, our histories, like, I'm just, could be used to saying no, or not even knowing, like, I just disconnected, period. Or I just know sex is transactional. Like, this is what we do as women. This is what we're supposed to do. Now I'm giving power to myself. And I'm also now using that power to create more honestly with my partner, which is creating deeper intimacy. And then through that deeper intimacy, you're creating safety and trust, because you're allowing, okay, maybe this is what it is for tonight. But through that allowing, it opens up the possibility of expansion, because you're giving permission to what is, rather than where are we going. Does that make sense?
I think
Yeah,
that's
no,
great.
that makes sense. I just was wondering if it that's still like a negotiation. You're meeting them in the middle. You can word it however you want, but like still negotiation. You're like, look, I'm not feeling it now like this, but I'm willing to offer this. Like I'm good with this. So that's a negotiation between the two.
I feel like I understand what she's saying, though. I think it's because she's not in the mood to do the whole entire shebang, but she also doesn't want to deny her partner. And
Or
she's
deny
like,
myself the possibility, like, of what could be there. What I'm getting stuck with on a negotiation is because that comes very much from the head. A negotiation is very head based. What I'm doing is dropping it down into the body and being like, here's where my body is, access is right now. I'm sharing that with you. I'm coming into the space with my truth of my body's awareness. Here's what's comfortable with that knowledge,
Yeah.
right?
So it's like it can start off with like maybe a penis massage, and then because you may not be there with him, right, in that
Yes.
mood sense or that vibe, but as the penis massage starts, you might end up getting aroused and wanting to go the extra mile. You're saying like, I'm
Yes.
not willing to start straight into this, but we could start here and see where it goes, if it goes anywhere
Yes.
further, right?
And
Okay.
I'm holding space for his pleasure, right? Like, it's like, um my container is, my body's here right now, but I can hold space for your pleasure and massage, because also in a penis massage, depending if you're using tantric modalities or whatever, it can actually turn into a healing session. Like I had partners where they're crying and releasing emotional blockages, and just like they're like looking at me like, who the fuck are you? Right? Like that's like the most profound experience I had. But it's because I'm so present and I'm connected to the experience. I'm connected to them, even though I didn't want penetration. And that allowed intimacy, healing, transformation to take place,
So wait a minute,
even at that.
if I got this correctly, you massaged somebody's dick so well that they cried?
I do testicle, like there's a tantric penis massage techniques, right? So the modalities of that actually release tension. We hold a lot of emotional traumas in our pelvic floor. There's a lot of, let's say, numbness or in access to sensation. So when you're stimulating and massaging and you're using intention and presence in the technique of various massage, things, people have releases. They're emotional. They're, like when I asked this partner that I gave this penis massage when we were done, like, I was like, how would you explain what happened? And he'd be like, oh my God, that was combination of a hand job and an exorcism. So,
Yeah,
but it was,
that's interesting. I've never. Wow, that's a crazy story. That's crazy.
but
Yeah,
this
it's
is
it's
what,
all about the connection. It's all about the
yeah,
connection that you have.
communication, connection, presence, and like for me, I know how to guide somebody to get into their body and get very into, like, so I'll say, like, even this situation, massaging someone, my partner's testicles, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling anger in your testicles, can you drop into that, can you stay with me, can we go deeper in, like, so going into kind of access like that can open up just a whole portal. Like, penetration alone, there's different techniques that you can use with breathing or other, um, you know, like eye gazing, certain touch as well to get access to um, those emotions or those openings as well. But this is this way allows a different avenue that is so powerful, so potent, and just as like powerful, like, yeah, as sex can be. Like you can have incredible orgasm, so it's like, okay, like, so when you say disconnected, sex, or what is that? Like, being like, okay, if anybody that's not in their bodies in a moment is having disconnected sex, if I'm thinking about the groceries and I'm thinking about my to-do list and I'm, you know, fantasizing about someone else, I'm not in this moment. But the training comes back the more we keep bringing our minds back to the now and back to the here. Like, as I'm being penetrated by my, or, whether it's same sex partners as well, it's like, as I'm in this moment, what are the sensations I'm feeling? Keep coming back to, what am I feeling? What is the sensations in my body? Activating that sensorial awareness takes training, but it heightens then your ability to feel more and your ability to have bigger orgasms when you start keep training yourself to be in the now, and then communicating that. Like, if I'm with my partner and being like, oh my God, can you, I'm feeling pain in that moment, can you breathe with me because I'm feeling in that moment, like in that back part of my vagina, can you just be present and breathe with me? We're coming back and from disconnect to connection. Or like, if it's oh my God, I just lost my train of thought.
I got I got another question. So, Huds, have you ever had undesired sex? Like, have you ever had sex with somebody that you just did not want to have sex? Like, were you not in the mood?
Yes. A lot of times it is because I kind of just wanted to have sex. So definitely with certain partners that I didn't want it, but did it out of obligation. And then, yeah, there's definitely, I don't know. I've turned, I'm trying to think about this. It's an interesting question because I feel like it's more a question towards the girl because we tend to have as guys, we tend to have a higher sex drive. I'm trying to think of, so one of the things that Thea said earlier that I found interesting is like when she's not necessarily in the mood, I was like, okay, fine. And then, my partner turned to me and was like, oh, but like, I want to please you anyways. And it's like, I don't want to have that type of sex. I don't want to have a transactional sex like that where you feel an obligation to please me. I didn't like that. And we ended up not having sex. So I find that very interesting. And I find it very interesting, like everything you've been saying so far, Thea, on, how to kind of be in tune with your partner and in tune with yourself and stand by your boundaries. Because I think that's a lot what it is.
Did we lose? Oh, there he is.
He's back.
Like for some reason, I got this new wireless mouse and it's really touchy and it just like kicked me out by touching it. So, ladies, have you had any undesirable sex experiences? Who wants to go first?
Coco's going first.
All right.
I've had a couple. The biggest one that comes to mind when I think of it is actually, I was engaged, and this was like my first long-term.
Can we preface this is not me?
No, it's not him. This is when I was young. I was 19 and I was engaged, and this was like my long-term boyfriend that I had like all through high school. And we ended up like, I was always like, wait till marriage. That's what my parents taught me and raised me. Very conservative family. And I did that. But my mom was like, this is the only time where she's like, okay, well, you guys are already engaged. So you might want to try just so that way on your honeymoon, it's not super painful and da-da-da-da-da. But even though I've never had sex and I hadn't done anything sexual up until that point, I still like, my mom was a very open person and she was like, just ask me. And I read books, I researched stuff on how to do things. My mom was like, just practice with stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I was the best partner intimately with him because I was a virgin. And so it was like our first time before we were supposed to get married. And it was weird. It's almost like in that moment that chemistry wasn't there. And it was so bad that I actually asked him to stop.
The very first time I had sex, I thought I was gay because I didn't enjoy it.
Well, I mean,
it was so bad. And I was so surprisingly, my first time, I was actually amazing. I was like, wow, I am really good at this. And I'm like, goodness gracious. All that reading and practicing on stuff really worked out. But when he was trying to do things, it was like, I could not enjoy myself. I was just like, ugh. Like, it wasn't pleasurable. It wasn't anything. And I was just like, okay, can we just stop? Like, can we not do that? And I felt really bad. And I felt so bad because I could just see his heart sink at the same time that I told him that. And he was just like, oh, is it not good? And I'm like, well, your fingering was better. Like,
Was it his first time too? Or like,
No, like he had never like gone all the way with the woman, but he had done other things and I hadn't. But I'm like, I've never had it before, but this cannot be what it is because my mom's told me like when it's amazing, and you feel things that you've never felt before and you don't want it to stop. And I'm like, okay, but when he started to, like he was going down on me and I was just like, okay, can we stop? Like, it was just awful. So that was like, but I continued to do the other part of penetration afterwards. And it was not as any good. And the sad thing is like, once I got in the shower afterwards, I was just like, I felt dirty.
Did you feel safe with him?
Like protected kind of safe?
No, like your body, like
yeah, because he made me feel like a queen. Like he was so beautiful. Like he was very like, hi Thor. He was very like, he made me feel very beautiful. There was nothing about that, but it was weird. It was like in that moment of connecting, I was like, this is not good. Like that chemistry or something is there, like non-intimate. We had chemistry, and he was very protective of me, which I really loved. And he was very loving towards me, but in the moment of intimacy, it's like that was not there. That was missing. And I couldn't do it. Because mom's like, if you can't enjoy what you're doing with them now, granted, you guys learn and grow together. But if you're not feeling that now, she goes, it's not going to be great for when you get married. But then he ended up cheating, and then we ended up calling it off anyway. So
Wow. That's an interesting story. That's crazy. How about you, Thea?
What's the question again? Have
you ever experienced, or have you ever had undesired sex? Like, you ever had sex when you just with somebody you're
Of
just
course.
like not feeling them at all?
I think there's been many times, and I think many times, I've just learned that that's normal. Like sex is just okay, or like you're not always going to want it, but that it's what you're supposed to do when you're with somebody. And but I do remember, the first time I was engaged, lost my virginity to my partner in the, his bedroom, and the parents are in the next room. I didn't really want it. And, yet I did, and I didn't say anything, but, like I was young at the time. Well, I wouldn't say, I was in early 20s, and didn't have a voice to say, like, this doesn't feel right like this. And, other times, more recently, I had a partner. So interesting. He treated me well, and was wonderful on the outside, but my body, I kept getting, like, my body would contract. Like, it was a long distance relationship, and times we'd see each other, like it would contract. And interesting, like the sex, if you had to say, okay, is it okay? Okay, I'd be like, okay, it's decent sex, but I didn't desire it, because there was just this, my body, I couldn't even tell you why it was saying no. And I kept getting these UTIs, and like my body would just say no, no, and I'm overriding it the times we'd see each other. And finally, I just listened to my body, and I told him straight out, I said, I don't know why my body, not aligning to this relationship, and I'm choosing to honor that, and I'm so sorry. Because there's nothing I can say theoretically, or, that's wrong in this relationship, but my body's just not agreeing with this as something to pursue. And the moment I stopped it, like my body's, everything cleared up. My body, just felt safer again. I still don't understand what that was, but I know well enough about trusting my body that I don't question it. So but yeah, that was a time towards the end, especially, like I didn't desire to have sex, and I still was. And then my body would give me symptoms, to a reaction to that. And then I had to take action.
It's interesting you say that. It's making me think about something that's a completely different topic, but yeah, the UTIs and different things that like go weird with the body. It's an interesting one. This question here that was thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there such a thing as going overboard when it comes to sexual enticement or persuasion? And so I think a lot of this comes to like when you're getting to the end stage of like a date or anything else. Like when does it become too much? Or like when do you expect too much of your partner?
Is there things such as over
When it's like he's doing, I think, going overboard, when they're coming on too strong.
Yeah.
Like they're really trying. Is there a limit where like they're just like going way too far, or persuasion, because that means they're really trying to convince you, right? So that's now starting to get to like, obviously you're not you don't have that complete desire for them yet, right? And they're trying to persuade you, so that means like they're trying to convince you.
Or as he's saying, like on any occasion, it could even be in a relationship where like you need the sex. Maybe you guys both have two different levels of sexuality, and like you have a very high sex drive, and she may have a very low one, or vice versa. Like, when is too much, and how do you like notice that, and how do you handle it?
Do you want to go first, Coco, or you like me?
Go ahead.
For me, thank you. What comes up is when someone comes in with an agenda, my energy is going into guarding, like, because you're not being in tune with, like, a woman. You're coming to meet a woman's energy, and if you're not coming to meet and be in tune with that, so you can actually harmonize, I'm going to feel your agenda, and my energy then doesn't even go to being open, it goes into guarding, right? So I say you're going overboard the moment you're going in with an agenda, because you're overriding presence, you're overriding connection, you're overriding response and reaction. So when I say for a man, like, you want to groom a woman, you want to open her, you want her to feel safe in her own body and trust herself. So then she's going to respond to you. You create that environment for her, she'll melt in your arms. But if you're going in with, what angle can I get in? Her energy's going into like, there's going to be no chance for her to open to her, or it
Yeah,
will be falsely done.
yeah, because I always say you have to have sex with her mind first. You have to fuck her mind before you can fuck her body.
Yeah.
Like, you have to get in her head before anything else. So I think, like, what, for me, I think it's like, technically the guy is obviously not reading the room. He's not picking up the body language and knowing that the signals that he's sending, although he thinks like, okay, maybe she's not getting it. So he escalates the signal a little more, make it a little more overt, and it's still not going there. Like, I think there's a certain point where, like, look, dude, women pick up on these things really quickly. So, like, if the first couple signals you're sending, she's not getting, abort mission.
Yeah.
Don't escalate it even anymore, because then you come off as like kind of creepy. You're going to come on too strong.
Well, and you want to magnetize her in a little bit, right? Like, you kind of want to go in and test and taste, and is she responding to that, and pull back and let her come into you a little bit. And if you're not getting that, okay, just abort it, it's done. But like, allow to, again, build her desire, like, get her to taste you, pull back, get her to want it and desire it, and then lean in a little to that, hold it, go in a little more, then see, is the safety there for her, right? You want her to just know that you can read her, and tune into that, because that's going to make her trust you, right?
That's such a great point. Like, when I think of when you're like on a date with a girl and like things are like, starting to escalate, like leaning in, going for the kiss, but not actually going for the kiss, and then pulling away, and it's like, no, we can't be this bad. And it's like, it's sparking that it's pulling that positive and negative, like, coming together, and it's absolutely magical. So exactly what you're saying, it's like kind of like teasing a little bit, because you know what's going on, but you need to understand what's going on. You need to, as Glenn said, read the room.
It's like masterful, like you're like a conductor of the orchestra, right? Like, how are you playing with that? And the other thing, though, that's very, like I say, is it going overboard, or, when it comes to sexual persuasion and excitement, like, also be willing to be honest and vulnerable and courageous with that, being like, oh my God, like, I'm desiring you so much right now. I don't even know what to do with it. I want to grab you and kiss you. And yet I want to respect, like, where we're at right now. Like, can I kiss you? Can I, lean in for more? Even that, like, being willing to be that honest and that vulnerable goes miles with women, because that shows a woman that you're willing to go into the harder conversations, like, willing to be uncomfortable and stay there, like, and that starts opening, like, oh my God, like, he's just saying, like, oh my God, come here, right? Like, there's so much that gives access to as well. So inviting that, like, stating, like, oh my God, like, I just desire, I'm so hungry for, like, you're so gorgeous, and or whatever the desire is that you're wanting to lead into that persuasion, I say allow yourself to vocalize it and bounce it off and see how that's respond. Because information is like, truth is going to take you a million places. Either it's going to bring you closer together or it's going to bring out what's already not going to be there. So
Exactly.
Yeah. So here's another question. So here we go. Where is it at? It is right here. Thor wants us to ask, can you ask the maidens, the ladies, the difference between attraction, arousal, and burning desire?
I could give my opinion on that.
All right. Let's hear it, Coco.
I personally believe that attraction is when you look at a person, a man walks by or whatever, and you find him physically appealing. Okay, and you're like, oh, he's attractive. The other one was, what was it? Like, pop it back up. What was it?
It's still up there, arousal.
Oh, there it is, right there. So attraction is when you look at somebody, you find them attracted. Arousal is like there's something about them. You're like, okay, yes, like they're attractive, like something in them like kind of burns and gives me like desire, like, well, not desire, but like arousal to where like you kind of just want to have sex with them because you think it would be fun. So something about them turns you on, whether it's like if you're into bad boys and they have all the bad boy looks, their tattoos, they're strong, or they dress like a greaser, or if you like preppy and they're like dressed up to the nines all the time, you like men in suits, you know, you find that very arousing. So you just like, you kind of want to just like take their clothes off. Burning desire is, in my opinion, when you, as we said earlier, that you cannot get enough of this person. It's that physically, mentally, emotionally, and sexually, they do something to you that you don't even have to be intimate, but then you just feel like you just want to jump their bones all the time. And you're willing to do whatever it is that you need to do to please your partner and to make your partner happy. Because also at the same time, giving them pleasure gives you pleasure.
Yeah. So, and then I get that. That makes sense. That makes sense. You know, I think like the difference between attraction is like, oh, they're cute.
Mm-hmm.
Arousal is like, oh, they're turning me on. Like they turn me on. Burning desire is like, I am going to fuck the shit out of them. You know, like they're like,
You can't help myself.
Yeah, like you just can't, you know, contain yourself. But ladies, like, there's another question. It's kind of interesting. So, instincts and hormones cycles have a large amount to, you know, of influence on the attraction and the different time of the month, right? So is that something you guys like recognize? Like, do you guys know like when you're on your cycle, when you're not on your cycle, like, you know, what hormones, like if your hormone balance is off, or like, does that play a role in your level of desire or your level of interest?
I think Thea might be a better person to speak on this because, as some of the people in the panel know, one, my cycle never affected me. I never been like, ah, gross, but I don't have it. And I'm actually a clinically diagnosed nymphomaniac, so I don't have an off switch. So it doesn't stop.
I love that.
For me,
Yeah,
it actually
trust me,
doesn't matter
trust
like
me.
what I'm going through. I could have the worst day in the world, and all I want is to be intimate with, you know, my significant other. So
Trust me, yeah, like we don't stop. I mean,
so maybe Thea has like more, you know, theological knowledge or, you know, statistical knowledge on women with that, because I don't qualify in that category.
All right, Thea, you're up. So does hormones and, you know, instincts play a role in the amount of attractiveness and desire?
absolutely. So even, you know, birth control. So what a woman, it alters your hormonal cycle a lot. So what a woman may be attracted to while on birth control, you'll see statistically there's research that shows when women get off birth control, they're not always attracted to the same man because your chemistry has been altered, so artificially altered. So even men, like what you're attracted to, the smells and whatever this woman. So this changes for a woman depending on what hormone influences could be in her system. So this is something just to educate yourself around or play with, or I explore um, deeper into. And yeah, like, so a lot of the work I do is around helping, like with women, like I say your body's like a fish tank. If it's filled with dirty water and your lymph systems and your organs and things aren't working optimal, you're not creating a thriving environment. So a lot of like lymph work, liver work, gut health, all of this helps create that environment. So the hormones, and especially that support sex hormones, have an environment to thrive and be as balanced as possible through your own mastery of your own body. So there's a huge influence on it for sure. And
Hold up real quick. You did mention hormonal birth control, right? So and the fact that like a lot of women, when they get off of the birth control, they actually don't have that desire for the partner that they had prior to. And I think
yes,
that's because, from what I understand, if like, correct me if I'm wrong, is that like hormonal birth control like puts you in that state of where like is that your body like thinks that it's pregnant, or it gives off like the trigger, like it's, you don't have that
You essentially you want your
you
body
want
is
you
wanting more
desire
of a
certain other
protector.
things. Yeah. You're not
chemically
looking for
it
that.
alters a lot. It alters the smells you're attracted to. It alters the, like your like on a primal level, what you might have been attracted to off birth control will be different on birth control because it's now synthesized. Go ahead, Coco.
I actually had a question for you. Does that work the same? Because again, I never had an issue with that when I was on birth control. But is that the same if a woman has an IUD? Because you're not taking the pill. I understand the pill because the pill goes into your bloodstream. It affects your entire body. When I was on the pill, it made me extremely just like sick. I did not have the urge. I didn't have the chemical imbalance or the mood swings, but I was always sick and I had to get off of it. Surprisingly, I'm allergic to birth control. So I had to get an IUD, but an IUD has very, very little, and it only basically closes off so that way your tubes don't actually drop any eggs. So is there a difference between if a woman gets an IUD and takes the pill?
There is a slight difference, but there's still a influential factor taking place, right? So, and and that's a whole, birth control is a whole different conversation to have around the influence on sex and our bodies and, our hormones and our ability to, later in life, our fertility, like our different stages, like there's a lot of different factors with that. But yeah, so just at a basic level, there is an influence. And for some women, it may, notice it. For some, they may not. But, when they just, their marriages or, they go off and all of a sudden they're having problems in the relationship, they're not going to consciously link it to birth control right away, like if ever. But there could be like, oh, I'm just not attracted to him anymore and I don't know why. Okay, well, tell me your history, tell me this. I know where to dig to look for those different influences that may, but someone else may just be like, oh my God, you're just not, and it's over and blah, blah, blah. Right?
Girl, he wasn't right for you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
get that type of answer.
I think the hormonal birth control triggers certain things in women. Like they want the comfort thing. They want more comfort when they're on the hormonal birth control. So they're looking for other criteria in a guy rather than what they would be looking for if they were in a
natural state.
In that natural state, because when you are cycling, go through your cycle, you have this period where you're like, you want to find that guy, like your body, like naturally you want to find that sexy hot guy that just hits all those boxes for you naturally because you're drawn to him for those sexual reasons. Well, and then when you're not on that moment, you're looking for more comfort, more other qualities that were not contributed to like that hot sexy guy, like
Yeah,
Maybe.
because we have different stages, right? And if we're not allowing ourselves to have the ovulation experience, like in ovulation, this is when we're hungry, this is when we're flirty, this is when we're playful, this is when we're in that energy of like, oh my God, like, let me ravage you, right? We don't get to experience that fully and intuitively get to know that part of ourselves when birth control. Like, listen, Coco's an example where she has that all the time, but just being able to know my on switch, my off switch, like my building up. Okay, after ovulation, what is my mood and my energy like? I might want more of that comfort or stable, exchange with my, partner or with anyone I'm intimate with. And then, like, okay, right before menstruation, it's like, okay, this is my dormant. This is my, put me in my cubicle for a couple of days and let me nest in, that space where my body starts to bleed. So getting to know our bodies is so critical. And the more intimacy a woman has with her own body and being able to, like, it's powerful. It's powerful when you're able then to share that and being like, okay, like, this is what's happening to, I know my body to say, like, honey, like, this time of the month, this is what happens to me. This one, you can just walk by me and I just want to ravage you, like, I'm in tune with that. And I think it's so important for women to get to know those parts. Then there's another layer though of our emotional, like our child, our upbringing, that's going to influence then from a traumatic and experiential standpoint, how that plays out. Like, one of my teachers always said, tell me how you were parented and I'll tell you how you make love. I never understood it, but now I understand it totally, because a person, let's say, that wasn't coddled as a baby might seek a huge intimate attention, like to be like, I want to be held all the time. I want to be physical all the time. I want to be, as close to you as possible any moment I can. Right. So there's that component, then that also adds another layer.
So, okay, here's a question for both you ladies. What is the difference between, like, sexually in the experience, I should say, what is the difference between the experiences of, desired or, undesired sex? Like, is there, because most guys do not understand the difference. Most guys can't really see, the difference, because they say 80% of guys typically are only used to transactional or undesirable sex.
Oh, that's awful.
So with that being said, guys are unaware. Guys are typically not aware of what's going on with you. They see that you're giving them availability, giving them access, so they're like, she must want it, yes. But really, what's going on the inside when the difference between desired and undesirable?
First of all, I don't buy that they don't know what's going on. A man, I feel, tell me if I'm wrong, I think a man can totally feel when a woman's not desiring him.
I disagree, because
there's a lot of people that just don't understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that don't get it. Like, a lot of guys will think that because you're giving him access to sex means that you desire it. And as you ladies just explained, like, there's earlier, you have just explained the difference between desired and undesired. Guys don't pick up on that so much.
But does he even really care?
Actually, I think that all men want to have desired sex. They want a woman that wants to rip off their clothes and jump their bones, right? Okay. They all want that. Well, now they will settle for transactional sex if they have to, but okay. But they all want desired sex. So the question is like,
well, see, I think also the question is too, at least based on that, I think a lot of guys, they don't even know what desired sex is.
Well, they don't know what desired sex is from a woman's standpoint. Like, they don't, they know what they want. They desire to have the sex, obviously. But from when a woman's giving those signals that she desires, I don't think most men know what that looks like.
Can I ask a question first before we go there? Because what's coming up for me, does a man even, like, he knows his desire, but does he actually feel safe or feel shame in having his desire? Because a man's desire sometimes is really big, and they might feel like, oh my God, I'm going to scare my woman away, or she's going to think I'm a pervert if I show too much. Like, Does that come up on the men's side?
Well, that's fair. That's actually a really, really good point. I think we may have touched briefly on it when we did our interview with like a year ago. It's very true. I think that there's a lot of shame in sex of us not being honest on what we're looking for. So I think that there is a lot of shame, and we as men tend to hide it because we don't want people to know, because we don't want to deal with that.
Now, are you
So I
talking
think
about
that's
like
fair.
sexual experiences or sexual acts? Or are you
I
just
think we're
talking
talking,
about access to sex?
unless I'm misreading it, you're talking more like fetishes or things like that.
No, I'm just actually thinking of desire, like for a man to express like men want, like their hunger is ravaging, like it's huge, but are they comfortable even sharing, like, oh my God, like I'm so hungry?
Yeah, I don't think guys really have a problem like letting their woman know, like, hey, it's that time. I want to get down. Like, I don't think that's an issue. I think they're more concerned. If anything, if there any shame that they feel, it's the shame that comes when they're afraid of they know that they're going to be rejected, or like the odds of them being rejected are high. So like she's going to give him, she's going to curve him like, oh, I'm tired, or, I'm not really in, like that. That's where they feel like shame. Like they're like, God, they feel disappointed. They feel embarrassed for even saying anything, because at that moment, it's like, she's not reciprocating. She's not feeling the same thing that he's feeling. So he's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have asked this, Like that's probably where the shame comes from, is from the rejection aspect.
Yeah, everybody's afraid of rejection. Like I'll tell you what, like one of the only times I rejected my partner from sex, she got so upset. So upset. And I think that that's a big thing. Nobody wants to deal with rejection like that, especially like, at least in her case, she doesn't ask for it a lot. So when she finally asked for it and then I rejected her, it's like the world blowing up. And I think that that's like very similar with guys, is that they're scared of that rejection. So instead of,
Yeah, but do you give room to say, can we give each other permission to say no and not make it mean anything?
right, comes back to communication.
Both ways, right?
Mhm.
Like to say,
I think naturally guys are just more conditioned to deal with rejection. Like honestly, like think about it. Guys have to ask women. They have to pursue the woman. They have to court her. They have to woo her. There's a lot that guys got to do to get a woman to be available to him, unless she has that desire, right? So guys are used to being told no. Like, how many times have you ladies went on, or remember in high school when they had like school dances, right? How many times did you tell somebody no compared to being told no?
yeah.
You guys ever been told no to go to a school dance?
Like I asked a person and they said no.
Yeah, you asked the guy and they told you no.
Oh, I did, because I asked somebody, but I didn't know that he had already asked someone.
Okay, so he already asked somebody. So okay, one time. How about you, Thea?
Yeah, there was a stage in my dating where, for whatever reason, like any guy I was interested, it just would not go anywhere, and total rejection. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is hard, and can I sit in this, like, because it sucks. Like, should I change my standards? Should I change this, or what am I doing? Like, I doubted myself a lot, for sure.
Okay, so that's what a guy experiences. Like 90% of the time, even when they're in relationships, most men, even after they get married, they still have that like anxiety, like, okay, if I ask my wife for this, I'm gonna try, but the odds are she there's a good possibility she may say no. So that's what I'm saying, that most guys are conditioned to handle rejection better than women. I think when rejection comes for a woman, I think it's more devastating. Like as Huds was talking about how he rejected his girlfriend at the time, like her world blew up, like her world was destroyed.
Yeah,
Guys would be a little more like, we're like, oh, it's just another Tuesday, like they're conditioned to handle it better.
I think that's crazy that men get rejected from their wife or their significant other so much to where like they have that fear. Because in all honesty, it's like if you're constantly being rejected, then for me, it's like, why are you even in that relationship? Because then, does this person even really desire you? Because if this person doesn't, like, if this person does desire you, they're going to want to not say no. I mean, obviously, if the person, to each their own, if they're having a really bad day and the gentleman wasn't reading the room, and maybe she's just sitting there quiet cooking dinner, but she's thinking of the things that like went wrong in the day or something like that. And then all of a sudden, like, he comes up and he comes behind her, wraps his arms, nudges her, and then she's like, hi, thanks. Like, and the mood is off and he's not reading it and he's trying to. She'd be like, you know what, I'm just not feeling like it. I had a really bad day. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that it had anything to do with him. She just can't get out of what crap is in her head right now. So I just feel bad that if that's the case where most men are getting rejected in their relationships more than women are, like if a guy's, you know, like Thor said, talking dirty or, you know, being sexy with her, intimate with her, being loving, like, you know, trying to like get the mood started and then she doesn't follow into it. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't if you desire the person that you're with, because I like to be, I don't want to be said no to. If I do, my world falls apart. I've been said no to before and it has shattered me every time that I am told no. So sometimes that's my fault because somebody will be working and I'd be like, hey, and he's like, I'm really busy right now. Can we wait? And I'm like, fine. Like, but you know, like, and it still sucks. But I would rather let the man let me know when he is in the mood, because then I know that
yes, because we already know you as a nympho are always on the move. You know, we have no off switch. We got it.
No, but there is times where I do, like when I was in a relationship, like where I was just like, there had been so many things that I emotionally was cut off. I physically wanted to have sex, but the things that had been done to me cut me off emotionally to where I couldn't even allow myself to get in the mood for him. So that, even though I would still want to, I just didn't want to with him because I couldn't get past that, if that makes sense.
So
it does. It's good. Let's do Glenn, if you don't mind.
I was gonna do a couple more quick questions because I know Thea has to leave.
Okay.
Right. So can desire be negotiated? You know, and we'll try to, we'll get done in 5 minutes. We'll wrap it up in 5 minutes, but this will be like the last, you know, serious question. But can desire be negotiated? Ladies?
I think that negotiated is the wrong word. I see desire like a little fire, and it gets to be flamed and fueled, and it's coming back, like, what are your needs analysis, like, what do you desire, where do we meet, where are we completely off, and you know, maybe there's some things that are off the table, like, yeah, my partner can have sex every single day, and right now, like, I'm like 3 days a week I'm good. It's like, oh my god, I'm so good with that, but in between that I can do this, this, and this, because I love fueling that desire throughout the moments where we're not connected like that, and here's what that can look like, and he's like, oh my god, beautiful. So it's also getting creative with the desire, like, how do we feed the fire? Like I say, foreplay begins from the last orgasm. So in between, what are we doing throughout all of that creative time? We get to play, we get to make love, not just to each other, but to life every day. And when that we live in that turn on and pleasure, we start building desire in life, and then directing that to our partner and fueling it that way. That's how I
creating a buildup, right? Just creating a buildup in between sessions.
Yes,
yeah.
Right. And it's not a negotiation, like where it becomes like a business transaction. That's not going to turn me on.
Like, but there that does happen though in relationships, right? Like, because you know
it's not exciting. Like I say, most women, it might come, might come into it like that, but be careful of the energy that you're coming into it. What's more enticing, right? What's the energy that you're coming into? Like, let's play with this in between stage of when we have sex. What kind of little things? Give me 10 little things that kind of excite you or bring you into a different state. Like, I had a teacher who shared a story, like he would do rose petals from the driveway all the way into to the house, leading into a bathtub. You know, and she was a type A alpha, worked hard, you know, come in huffing and puffing. She'd see these rose petals and be like, oh, you know, follow them through. There was a bathtub. She'd take off her clothes, get in the bathtub, gently start slowing down. What ended up happening is eventually the moment she started turning into the driveway, because he'd watch from a distance, he wouldn't even be present. The moment she would turn into the driveway, she'd start unbuttoning her top. So she's wiring her, like whatever he did was wiring her to start softening, right? Like it's the fueling the fire, right? So you're looking for ways to create environments to ignite that desire fire. So it happens more frequently, or it creates opportunity.
It's a good one. It's a really good one. I like that a lot. I guess Glenn kicked himself out of the stream again. No, but that's great. I love that. It's a really good idea of like wiring it.
But I want to get like to the question, like, so you said you don't want to use the word negotiate, but there is like there is some sort of negotiation. I'm talking about like from when you first got in a relationship with your partner or your boyfriend or fiance, whoever, like you wanted to jump his bones regularly, right? But then after, to say a couple of years go down, you guys been in marriage or now for a while, and his drive is still there. Yours is maybe not so much there. You guys go to counseling. The doctor, prescribes like, hey, how about you, help around the house more? Or, like, do you feel like that actually works? Like that type of negotiation works?
No, because here's the thing. When working with women, especially, like when a woman is going through transformation, whether it's having a baby, menopause, an illness or whatever. So when they say, okay, she's not in desire, well, what's happening in her that she doesn't desire? Okay. When a woman doesn't recognize her own body anymore, whether it be from one of these things, like my body's not doing what it used to, I don't understand it, I don't feel sexy in it, and now you want me to have sex. If I don't feel sexy in my body, how can I even think of sex? So
make her feel sexy.
Make her feel sexy again. Like saying, yes, your body's changed and I love it and it's desire. Like she's going through so much of even saying, I don't even connect to this body because it's not doing what I used to. How can I even feel sexy or be sexy? Because I don't understand it. Coming into that space to help her remember all that she is and reacquaint with this new space her body is in is building trust and safety into her body. So then she has access to feel pleasure again. I've worked with this with women on many levels. It's like, it's not just about do more chores, do this, do whatever. It's like get a woman to feel safe and trust her body again. She will open up.
Glenn, you're muted. But
Coco, do you think desire could be negotiated, Coco?
None whatsoever.
No.
You either have it or you don't. You can't force yourself to feel desire for someone because of stupid chores or things like that they do for you. It's the way that your man is making you feel. It's the way that your woman makes you feel. The things that we provide and give each other. Not like, oh, I'm going to help around the house more. Or I'm going to do this load of laundry. Maybe that'll spark her fire. Like things like that. You can't negotiate desire. You feel it. It's there. It's raw. It's natural. And you don't, like relationships and everything, like to keep things interesting, do take work. But when you are both on the same playing field as far as like how you feel and what you give and provide and make each other like just like I said, feel about each other and comfortable and safe and sexy and desired, you don't have to negotiate it. It's when you start to question each other or your relationship or about how that person views you or feels about you is when that actually starts to take an effect. If I question if my man is like, does he find me still attractive? Like he hasn't been really handsy or flirty with me or, just whatever. I'm going to start to feel uncomfortable, kind of like what Thea said. I'm going to start questioning myself. I'm not going to feel comfortable in my own body. So therefore it's going to make me a little bit more timid to want to be intimate with him because I'm like, okay, is he now doing this just because he's horny or does he really desire this? And nobody should have to question their desire when they're being intimate with someone.
Makes sense. I get, before we wrap up here, I got one quick question. Why is it that people get into relationships with people that they are not genuinely attracted to?
Repeat that one more time.
Why do people get into relationships with people that they do not have that genuine desire for?
I think
Desperate.
it's comfort, desperation. Maybe there's a sense of power, you know.
Security,
Desperate,
right?
maybe
Like
they
they
can
may.
use them for their own advantage, which is foul. But people do that. Like, oh, I could really gain things from this person.
So like a sense of security. This person doesn't tick off your boxes sexually or arousing you, right? But you know he's a great provider, or he's a really sweet, he's really kind. You're like, man, you know, he's a great guy, but he's just not that guy that actually brings it out, right?
Or good enough for now. That's
Oh,
another.
good enough for now. So like is that something that ladies think actually in the back of their head, like, you know what, he's good enough for now? Is that actually a thought that comes through women's head?
It can, yeah. Where they're like, he's not my favorite. He's not my first choice. Kind of like what Randall was saying, but it was about marriages. He said that it's very rare for women to marry their first choice. So a man may approach a woman and she's like, well, I'm not really having a whole lot of guys knocking at my door right now. So, he's good for now. And then when the next opportunity, that's when they monkey branch, because then when the ideal guy that she would like to have, that guy actually approaches her, she's more likely to actually dump him and then go with the other guy that would have been her preferred choice.
So and basically he's just like, he's the beta bug. He's the guy that does all the provisioning. He hits all the comfort cues. You know, he's sweet, cuddly, soft, but he does not do anything on the arousal level, right? So do you think a woman in that state could actually have desire for her, husband, or is he always going to be that guy in her head, like, waiting for someone else to come around, or that if someone else came around that was better, I'll be considering leaving? Or like, is that something that's like already pre-thought in their head? Like, I'm going in this just for the security aspect, but when I get an opportunity, I'm gone.
I think with that one, I feel desire can grow potentially, but I think it really depends on the emotional intelligence of that person, the integrity of that woman. Because some might just be, hey, this works for now, I'm taking it and gonna leave. When another one may be like, it's not, but I'm open. Or he's really good and I want to love him and desire him. So I think there's a few different. I think it depends on the integrity of the woman in that situation.
I agree.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you, ladies. I mean, this is a great topic. I'm so thankful that you both came on tonight. We're gonna do like a quick roundtable. Plug in your information. Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? Where can people even watch you if you have a show? And what's going on with you, up or coming events or whatever the case may be. So we will start with Thea, since we know that she has a time restraint. And Thea, once you're done, you can go ahead and drop out if you need to.
Yes.
And then we'll go from there. Okay.
Thank you. But what am I saying again? Sorry.
Just go ahead and plug your stuff. Yeah.
Plug in my stuff. Where do I plug in my stuff?
No, just tell people.
Oh, tell people. Okay. Yes. So my website is the Theano, so TheTheano.com. Best way to reach me is on Facebook, probably in a direct message, which is you know what? My email, I'm going to give you my email, devotion@thetheano.com. That's a great way to reach me. And yeah, right now, my offerings that I have two one-on-one spots. Is a Sacred Body, a Sacred Life mentorship for women, particularly. I may have a group program for men, a Taste of Tantra for men, coming out in the new year for men. And that's it. Am I missing anything?
I think that's perfect. I
Awesome.
threw in those things there.
Okay,
so people
awesome.
can follow you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a joy. I appreciate the invitation. And Glenn and Coco, it was lovely to meet you here today. And I look forward to, just an opportunity to do this another time. It'd be fun.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Coco, what do you got going on?
I know, a little this, little that, but anyways, you guys can find me on social media on Instagram at CocoBae, BAE.BBE.fit. And and you guys can find me here on Thursdays.
Awesome. Thank you. Husband.
Dude, I don't got anything else to say other than I'm loving all the stuff we're doing. We're going to release that that show we talked about with Ruslan. That's going to be coming this Sunday. And we're going to be doing more of those. So it's going to be really interesting because we're going to be doing not just, Tuesdays focusing on men's self-help, but we're also going to be doing Thirsty Thursdays where we're including the women. So we get, we're not in an echo chamber and we have multiple perspectives. But then we're also going to have a new thing coming out called Wisdom Wednesdays, where we're going to have special guests on. And we're going to be talking even deeper into the men's self-development. And then we have those Sunday sermons. So, dude, I'm just excited to see everything that we got going on. Outside of that, if you want to reach out to me, at the Husband on Instagram, easiest way to find me.
Yeah. And for me, let's see. We are doing, as you said, all the shows that we're doing, but we're also doing the Dragon Ship on Saturdays at 10:30 Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow I'll be filming on a project, so I might be able to get some shots of that and throw it up on the social. But this Saturday, when we do the Dragon Ship, it's going to be a really interesting topic. The topic is going to be, are you basically fit for protection, or can you provide protection? Are you durable enough to be able to keep the people that you love safe physically? So we're going to be talking about a little bit of combat, a little bit of defense tactics, and it's going to be a really good topic. We actually going to have John Finch come on that, so please make sure you guys tune into this Saturday to the Dragon Ship for that episode. It's going to be a really good one. And as Hud said, we're going to be doing some other topics other days as well. Once a month, we're going to do Wisdom Wednesdays. We're going to bring an influential person from this manosphere space on and talking about what services they offer for men to help men. These are not just, randos, the people that think that they give a great advice and they just, no, it's not that. These are actually people that have credibility, that have helped men, and they have receipts to prove that. So that's going to be awesome. And then, as he said, Sundays, we're going to be doing a Sunday service. It's going to be a little pre-record, where we're going to give you a little bit of devotional, some biblical, references, and it's going to be a really good show. So it's going to be neat. It's going to be a little different from the other shows because it's going to be, based on theology and Christianity. So it's going to be a little different. It's going to be good. So make sure you guys check that out. Besides that, hey, you know where to find us. We're here. So thank you guys for watching. Coco, thank you for joining us. And again, thank Thea for joining us. But until next time, peace.